Hi, today is Sunday, and I thought by myself yesterday I created a video about Code Engine, and I thought today it's time for a new Node-RED absolute beginner live stream. And yeah, I do that because I was asked to do more videos related to Node-RED, and yeah, I thought today it's okay, I will create one. And one related to a topic which it's a little bit challenging for absolute beginners. And it's about understanding REST endpoints. And I don't want to talk too much about the technology and the REST endpoint itself. It's more about to get the job done inside Node-RED. And if you want to check out more about existing topics I have with Node-RED, Absolute Beginner, I already put below in the description links. And now we start with that. Here, that's the flow, Absolute Beginner. And in one of the last videos, I created a flow which consumes external REST API. This was given here, and now today I will I see someone say hey hi. I say also hi. Yeah. In the chat, so it's a little bit delay because I have the buffer with with normal, and so I cannot, if you do a comment, I cannot directly respond. So relate to my internet connection. Okay, so I now start with the topic building a REST API. And building a REST API, or more or less a REST endpoint first, is you have to understand here when you go here HTTP in. So what is a little bit challenging, what I notice when I do that the people want to trigger that inside the Node-RED flow. When we talk about providing a REST API, it's not that you can trigger it from inside your flow. You will invoke it from external or from inside your Node-RED, but with an HTTP request. But that's later. So first we need an HTTP in, and then is here the HTTP response. So, and between these two things, we will wire, there happens what we want to provide to the external persons or systems, what information we want to provide. And in that case, I just use here a function. So that is what we will do. He will here define how it can be invoked. So, and I just write here very, very simple. It's just to understand how it works. Get name. So I say here get name, and I deploy it, and then with that I can say, for example, when I go into the function, here is the message object for the return value, and I will now create a variable which is called I call it payload. You can call it as you want. And this is just for JSON. Later I will add some JSON information there, and I will write here, because I will extend it later a little bit. I just write here payload again, and then I say here the payload will be here. I call it what was it? I call it message, yeah, and everyone likes just to say hello world, yeah. Oh. Yep. Hello world. Okay, very simply, yeah. So okay, that's all, yeah, you can see. And now we need to define that this object or this variable, the value, is also defined for our message object we use here inside Node-RED. So then we define for our payload. Payload here is payload. Okay, so now understand what happens, what we have done. And for sure, what I always saying, yeah, it is always good to use a debug node, yeah, so that we can see what happens, yeah, when we invoke it from external, yeah. So then this was or this is when it will be invoked, yeah, what will be sent here, and here we will see what we will provide. And then I say deploy, and here you can see once again, yeah, that is how we defined our REST endpoint. Yeah, so there are different possibilities when you define REST endpoints. I only use the GET in that situation. That's the simplest one, but you also can post information, put and delete. But if you want to dig into that, there are a lot of other videos also, but I think that's a good starting point really to understand here in the Node-RED world, yeah, how it works. So okay, you can see here that is our endpoint, yeah, that's a definition with get name. And now how do we invoke this endpoint? We simply can use that when we just copy the URL. Okay, so here's and we insert URL, and we say here get name. So you can see here here's hello world. But I want also to show you, if you have more later on more complex invocations, usually is used to check it out. There's Postman, so you should know Postman for that. Here you can download Postman for free. Yeah, configure it. I already have here one Postman, and here I will add a request to my collection. So that's the UI of Postman. It's a new one UI. Yeah, I installed it today once again. So I noticed, yeah, so some things are changed. They frequently evolve. Yeah. So and I now create a request. Here we just insert what we inserted here. So that is our request. So you can say, you can also save it, and you can say the name is this simple request. Simple request. I say here save, I say send. So you can see here also is hello world. We're also very simple, and you can see the headers here, what's hidden. Yeah, this is later if you really dig into all that topics with REST endpoints and HTTP requests and really APIs. So then that is what you need to understand. Yeah. So as I said, that's the first step. So with that, we take also a look into our debug window, and we can see here in our debug window, yeah, First of all, there was an empty message. Yeah, there was nothing here because it's nothing additional sent. Yeah, so and that is what our function provides. And you can see that one was invoked from here, and the other was invoked from there. So what I frequently suggest, take the advantage of the descriptions here of the documentation. Yeah, here is the documentation you can see. And when you work with endpoints with that HTTP in node, understand what is a body, what is a header, query, parameters, and so on. Yeah. So and with that in mind, yeah, we will do the next steps. I want to show to make this a little bit more, not a lot, a little bit more flexible, so that we use parameter for our request. So that means here we will expect later. Yeah. So as we see here what is written in the documentation, we will see the payload. We will say if the message payload will be first name. Yeah. And I say here, my name is Thomas, and I say here, first name is Thomas. Then, okay, so here return. Then we will define our payload content hello world. Yeah. Greetings from Thomas. So that's what happens when Thomas is first name, man, it should be name. And then here, I don't want. So here, and else, it remains like it is. Okay. So when we deploy that, now we will not change a lot, not a lot, we will not change anything here. What we now utilize that the person, yeah, who will invoke our endpoint has to know how to invoke the endpoint itself. Yeah. So and with that we go to the Postman, and that's the reason why Postman is very good. So I say here there's a question mark, yeah, and then I say here there's first name, and then I say here the first name value, that's a parameter, and the first name value is Thomas. Okay. So and you can see it also already extracted that as parameter, very parameter here for that request. So and when we send it now, so we can see here hello world, greetings from Thomas. So we can save these as a new request. We can see write that with a simple request with query parameter. Okay. So we save it into the notepad. So and then it's very simply. Then you can directly select it here, yeah, and you have it. Yeah, when you open up your Postman, you can check it out. You only have to replace here the URLs, and that's very useful. Yeah. So now we are yeah, we are fine with that. And now you see, and that is a little bit what for new programmer or a new user inside Node-RED, what is a little bit strange is, yeah, how to trigger that. Yeah, you do not trigger it inside, you provide an external REST endpoint API, and just to say API, what makes the API more compliant to API is also a naming convention. And here we used get name, and normally, yeah, you say here API, yeah, and then you also say or provide information about the version, yeah. But I don't want to go too deep in all this stuff, and just that's a little bit preview, yeah. When you dig into these topics, really writing APIs and so on. And what I also want to highlight now, when we are starting with that, you come into the situation, or you will come into the situation that you have to take care about cross-origin regions. And that means when you request, when you use these API, then it could be that it is not allowed that you use it inside a web application. That is what usually happens when I work in hackathons, that they cannot invoke it only in a UI. Yeah. So, and that is what I do not currently cover. I also created a blog post about that. When I go here. Can see here. Then we come a little bit more into the programming stuff. There are several possibilities to do that. There's also a possibility to have some settings. But I don't, as I said, I don't want to start to dig in all that in all that topics here. So, and what I now want, what we did, what the objective is of that short live stream, yeah, Sunday live stream, yeah, entertaining, is yeah, how do I invoke it now internally from my Node-RED flow, and then, yeah, then I really can trigger the invocation. And now I will use here the HTTP request. And you can see here there's a possibility for the import. And you know here the HTTP REST endpoint, you know. Huh? Maybe it reminds you to one of the last videos, yeah. And then we simply do also an inject node, yeah. Then we can start it, we can trigger it from here. So I can, yeah, it doesn't matter because it, we currently do not use the information input, yeah. And then we can copy, here's that into the URL, yeah. You remember maybe when you have seen the last one, that is really for the invocation of external endpoints. And so the external endpoint, yeah, is not really external for us, it's internal, but we have to invoke it to the internet. And that is a little bit tricky at the first time to understand, yeah. It's inside, but I cannot trigger it, yeah. So, and that is what you have to understand, yeah. So, and then I would like to say here with a comment, here's the comment, that's our REST endpoint. Okay, that's the REST endpoint, we can invoke. And I will say here the debug. debug one. Also, you know, I like this debug. So that is our output here. And let's say here, invoke REST endpoint. Okay. So with that, when we have that, yeah, everything should work. So let us check it out. Take a look here. I will clean it up. And now I invoke it. And you can see what happens. Yeah. First here, remember, is empty because you know here we do not have an parameter, so that's empty. When we use it from here with the parameter, do the same. You can see that it was empty, and this was the input from the Postman. So back, so I clear it once more to make it obverse. So here I invoke it. Here it's empty. Yeah, on the debug, no information. So it provides the information, that message. Yeah, that is here the output, and that is the information we got from here, from the internal flow, but we invoked it to the REST endpoint. And what I also will do, what you have seen maybe also in the last video, is the frequent normal exchange of data is used in JSON, and that is currently not in JSON, and that is in a string, yeah, and in that format, what is given here. So, or it's and with that I can use here JSON, and just for the formatting, yeah. So, and here once again, right here, once again. Now here you can see that here was it. It's text, and that's an object we can use later. Yeah, and that at least was all. But I guess that is really critical, or it's important to understand. If you are a beginner, I would say, yeah, that's a little bit challenging. Really understanding an endpoint and how to invoke that, and yeah, to understand that, that's, I would say, that's the really the basic to understand what I also wrote. And I can encourage you, because I like, yeah, I did it, I like it for sure. Twitter, so I created a flow, it's called Twitter follower, and that flow contains a lot of content with really usage, and also I do there also authentication stuff, yeah, and the two-level or the OAuth authentication with Twitter. So I get the API, I get an API key from Twitter, and I examine, yeah, followers. So, and yeah, that's more in depth, yeah. It's no longer it's not totally complicated, but it's I would say it's more than a beginner, yeah. And yeah, I would say, yeah. Yeah, I did it. I can say hello, you have seen it. Hello. So here's greetings for the live stream. Okay, so I would say that's all at the moment, yeah. And I would say, yeah, it's Sunday. Yeah, I thought, yeah, by myself. Oh, yeah, take the time, do a short video about that. I would say it's an important topic. And if you have liked it, yeah, you can subscribe to that and give me feedback, maybe what you're also interested in. And I say thank you very much, and have a nice Sunday wherever you are, and maybe see us in a accidentally live stream or at a video I do or I will do. Okay, I say bye, and now I have to find the streaming button again. And I say, hey, bye. The streaming now ends. Have a nice Sunday.